Welcome to the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Harrison, and with me today is the amazing Olivia Harper. You ready to dive deep into some blood pressure history?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Today we're tackling the history of blood pressure measurement.
Buckle up. It's quite a journey.
Seriously, from sticking tubes into horses to strapping on smartwatches that tell you your blood pressure, it's mind-blowing.
Right. It's incredible how far we've come.
So let's rewind way back. Before we even had the tools, what did people even know about blood pressure?
Well, ancient civilizations weren't totally in the dark.
Really?
Yeah, Chinese and Indian scholars had a grasp on blood moving through the body.
That's amazing, considering they didn't have any of the tech we have today.
Right. They didn't have all the details, of course.
Yeah.
But they observed the pulse, they knew about blood vessels, and they understood blood was vital.
That's pretty impressive.
It really is.
So to get a clearer picture, though, we need to fast forward a bit to the 1600s and the work of William Harvey.
Oh, William Harvey, a true pioneer.
His book on the movement of the heart and blood in animals is still like a cornerstone of how we understand the circulatory system.
It really is. It's remarkable how accurate his work was.
So what exactly made his work so groundbreaking?
Well, it wasn't just that he described the circulatory system. He proved that blood circulated in a closed loop pumped by the heart.
Which I'm guessing went against a lot of the thinking at the time?
Oh, absolutely. It revolutionized our understanding of how the body functions. That's why his research is still so influential even today.
Okay, so Harvey gave us the map, but then someone had to figure out how to measure the pressure in those blood vessels.
Exactly. And that's where things get interesting.
Interesting. I'm sensing a story here.
Oh, definitely. So the first recorded blood pressure measurement was in 1733.
Okay, 1733.
And the subject was a horse.
A horse? Hold on, I need to hear more about this.
All right, so Reverend Stephen Hales was the scientist behind this experiment.
Okay.
And he literally inserted a long glass tube directly into the horse's artery.
Wow. That's a visual I wasn't expecting today.
Yeah, it was a different time.
I'm glad we've moved past that method for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
But Hales's dedication was incredible.
So what happened?
He observed the blood rising in the tube, proving there was pressure within the artery.
So it was a crude method, but it was a start.
It was a critical first step.
So we've got a horse with a glass tube in its artery. When do we get something that resembles the blood pressure measurements we're familiar with?
Well, the first sphygmomanometer was invented in 1881 by Samuel Siegfried Karl Ritter von Basch.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is, isn't it?
Say that 3 times fast.
I don't even want to try. But the device itself was a big leap forward.
Okay, in what way?
No more sticking tubes into arteries. Von Basch used a rubber bulb filled with water to restrict blood flow.
Okay.
And this bulb was connected to a mercury column. By measuring how high the mercury rose, you could determine the pressure needed to stop the pulse.
Still a bit clunky compared to what we use today.
Oh, for sure. But less invasive.
I'm noticing a theme here. Less invasive is good.
Absolutely. And that trend continued with Sicchioni Rivarocci.
Rivarocci, another big name.
He refined the sphygmomanometer in 1896. His big contribution, the arm cuff.
Ah, the arm cuff.
Yes, it allowed for more even pressure distribution and formed the basis for the cuffs we use today.
It's amazing to think that the basic design of the blood pressure cuff has been around for over 100 years.
It is pretty remarkable.
So Rivarocci gave us the cuff. But there was still a key piece missing. The distinction between systolic and diastolic pressure.
You're right about that. But that came along in 1905 thanks to Dr. Nikolai Korotkov.
Korotkov sounds familiar.
It should. He discovered the difference between systolic and diastolic pressure.
So how'd he do that?
By listening to the sounds within the arteries as the pressure cuff was inflated and deflated.
So those are what we call Korotkov sounds.
Exactly, and he realized these sounds were key to understanding the different types of pressure.
The top and bottom numbers of a blood pressure reading.
Precisely.
So how did he figure out how to connect those sounds to systolic and diastolic pressure?
It's all about the changes in blood flow. When the cuff is tight, it cuts off blood flow in the artery. As the pressure releases, blood starts to surge through again. That first sound Korotkov heard, that's your systolic pressure, the maximum pressure when your heart beats.
Okay.
Then as the cuff deflates further, the sounds change until they disappear completely. That's your diastolic pressure, the pressure when your heart is at rest.
So by listening to those specific sounds, he figured out how to tell the two types of pressure apart.
Genius.
It really is.
And it's still the standard method for measuring blood pressure manually with a stethoscope today.
Incredible. So we've gone from horses and glass tubes to cuffs and a clear understanding of systolic and diastolic pressure. What happened next?
Well, the technology kept evolving, from mercury-based devices, which were a bit hazardous, to aneroid sphygmomanometers, much safer and more portable, and eventually to the digital devices we commonly use today.
Ah, yes, the digital blood pressure monitors.
Exactly.
I remember when those started popping up everywhere. It felt like a big deal for people being able to keep track of their blood pressure at home.
You're right. It was a huge step forward. In fact, the first automated blood pressure monitor for home use was developed in 1991 by Omron Healthcare.
Wow, 1991. That's not that long ago.
It really revolutionized things.
It did. And speaking of revolutions, can't ignore the impact of smartphones.
Oh, absolutely.
What role do they play in the world of blood pressure monitoring?
A big one. We're seeing the development of apps and wearable technology that can track blood pressure. There are even smartwatches that claim to measure your blood pressure right from your wrist.
I've seen those.
Ah,
But are they accurate?
that's the big question, isn't it? Researchers are studying that right now. Making sure these smartphone-based tools are accurate and reliable is a major focus.
Makes sense.
There are regulatory challenges, too. Agencies like the FDA are working hard to make sure these apps and wearable devices meet their standards.
So it's a rapidly changing field.
It really is.
It's pretty exciting to think about where this all might be headed.
It is. We've come a long way from horses and glass tubes to the potential of smartphones and AI.
So from those early experiments to what we're looking at for the future, it's clear that the story of blood pressure measurement shows just how innovative we can be.
Absolutely. It's inspiring.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk more about the potential of AI and machine learning. What could these technologies do for blood pressure monitoring?
Now that is where things get really interesting.
So AI and machine learning, it seems like they're everywhere these days.
They really are.
What kind of impact could they have on how we measure and manage blood pressure?
Well, imagine if your smartwatch didn't just track your blood pressure,
Okay.
but it actually analyzed the data and gave you personalized insights.
So not just telling me my blood pressure, but what it all means.
Exactly. What if it could predict potential spikes in your blood pressure before they happen?
Like an early warning system for your heart?
Or what if it could spot subtle changes that might point to a health condition you weren't aware of?
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
But how would that even work?
That's the power of AI and machine learning. They can analyze huge amounts of data.
Okay.
Your blood pressure readings, your activity levels, sleep patterns, stress levels, and find patterns that we humans might miss.
So connecting all the dots.
Right. And by doing that, they can give you incredibly personalized feedback and alerts.
So it's not just about the numbers themselves, but understanding how those numbers fit into your overall health picture.
That's the key.
Pretty powerful stuff.
It really is.
This could completely change how we think about managing blood pressure.
Absolutely. Early detection means you can make changes sooner.
Or talk to your doctor.
Exactly. And potentially prevent bigger problems down the road.
Okay, I can see the potential here.
Yeah.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. What are some of the challenges?
You mean with this kind of technology?
Yeah, it sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is accuracy and reliability. We talked about concerns with some current smartphone-based blood pressure tools.
Right.
And AI and machine learning add another layer of complexity.
So we need to be sure these devices are really as good as they seem before we start relying on them for important health decisions.
Absolutely. Rigorous testing and validation are essential.
To make sure the sensors are working properly?
Yes, and that the algorithms are sophisticated and accurate.
So organizations like the FDA have a big role to play here.
They do. They set the standards and make sure these technologies are safe and effective for everyone.
So lots of potential, but still some work to do before this becomes the standard.
It's fair to say.
But what about the ethics of all this? Are there any concerns about privacy or data security when we're talking about devices that collect so much personal health information?
That's a really important point. Privacy and security are absolutely crucial. We need strong safeguards in place to protect patient information.
And make sure the data is used responsibly.
Exactly. Transparency is key. People need to understand how their data is being used and protected.
That's a conversation we need to have.
It is. It needs to happen alongside the technological advancements.
It sounds like a lot to consider.
It is. But the possibilities are exciting.
Imagine technology not only monitoring your blood pressure, but helping you understand it and prevent problems before they even start.
It's a vision worth working towards.
It really is.
We've come so far, from those early experiments to the amazing technology we have today.
And who knows what the future holds.
Exactly. But for now, let's bring things back down to earth. What are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Especially those who want to keep a close eye on their own blood pressure.
Well, first and foremost, remember that managing your blood pressure is a lifelong journey.
And it's a journey you don't have to take alone.
You're right. It's best to work with your healthcare provider.
Regular checkups, open communication, and a healthy lifestyle are all essential.
They really are.
And remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about your blood pressure, the better equipped you are to take care of your health.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, Olivia, this has been a fascinating journey through the history of blood pressure measurement. And it's clear we're just getting started.
It really does feel that way.
Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us. We hope you found this as enlightening as we did.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you?
What questions do you have about the future of blood pressure monitoring?
Leave a comment below, and let's keep this conversation going.
And while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the THEEMTSPOT's Blood Pressure Podcast.
And share this episode with anyone who might be interested in learning more.
I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and take good care of your heart. So as we wrap up this look at blood pressure measurement, it's incredible to think about how far we've come.
It really is. From horses and glass tubes to smartwatches and AI.
It's amazing.
It is.
But as we look ahead, I wanted to leave you with a thought, something to ponder.
Okay. What's that?
What if someday blood pressure monitoring becomes so integrated into our lives that we barely even notice it's happening?
That's an interesting thought.
Like, imagine a world where the technology is constantly there in the background, providing us with data.
But it's so seamless that we don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. And that data empowers us to take control of our health.
To make better decisions.
And maybe even avoid serious problems down the road.
Early detection is key.
It is.
And if we can achieve that level of seamless integration, I think it would be a game changer for healthcare.
I agree. It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary.
It does, doesn't it?
Olivia, this has been an incredible journey.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of blood pressure measurement.
We hope you learned something new.
We hope you found it as fascinating as we did.
And we hope you'll keep exploring this topic with us.
We're just getting started. So until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and take good care of your heart.
See you next time.